Bam, bam, bam. What is up? And welcome back to Nando Talk. I had to fix my mic real quick before that switched off, but we've got a very special guest today to discuss the Miami Dolphins 2022 season and review it, recap it, see how we felt about it, whether it's a success or a failure, what moves needed to be made, the positives, the negatives, all of it. And then look a little bit at the 2023 upcoming offseason, how we're going to prepare for next year and make sure it is a guaranteed success. I'm joined by my buddy, the legend, Mr. Trevor. How's it doing, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Fernando, if I wasn't great before, I am doing fantastic now. Thank you for having me back on your show. It is always a pleasure to be here and even more to see you. I apologize for whatever is causing my camera delays. Hopefully I don't get caught on a really stupid face, but we'll see how it goes.
Hey, man, as long as we can hear you nice and loud, that's all I care about, man. You know, I'm looking nice and good, as always, on Nando Talk, bringing you the positive vibes. And Trevor, you look spectacular to me, at least in my imagination. Hopefully the viewers can enjoy you as well, bud. But I'm here for your mind, for your brain, for your good Dolphins knowledge.
Finally, someone wants me for my brain.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. I want you for what you got up there, Mr. Trevor, because you know, growing up for me, guys, Trevor was the guy, the man who knew everything about the Miami Dolphins in high school, okay? The kid who knew all the stats, the players, everything, the jerseys. He was that man, that guy, okay? Taking us on tours of the stadium with his long-standing ticket reps, his status, you know, my guy, and shout out the legend Todd if he ever watches this, you know. Two of the greatest Dolphins fans that I
watches all the time.
Oh, there we go, baby. You know, they showed to me what it means to be a high energy, real Dolphins fans. And I like to think that I have modeled myself in the Todd father ways at times, you know. So thank you, Trevor. It's a real pleasure to have you here to chat on this Dolphins talk, you know. Yeah.
Well, if that is true, it's definitely one of those probably you know, a student student surpasses the teacher there, because I see the tweets, I see the live shotgun predictions. Man, you are the rowdiest and most positive Dolphins fan I know. So we can all appreciate that.
Thanks to you and your dad, man. You guys really started giving me a real taste of the Dolphins. You know, hey, you know, I'm
sorry,
from
man.
Peru,
I'm so
bro.
Sorry.
I'm from Peru, man. I'm a self-taught Dolphins fan. You guys helped impart that culture on me, and for that, I will always thank, you know, Todd and Trevor. Not revealing the last name, but a legendary family. You know, Flock is Oxshot, by the way, though. So he's tuning in. We got a real one. We got a legends.
That is a real
if you're jumping in, guys, give us a like. We're about to tune in and start discussing some Dolphins talk. Just wanted to let you guys know and show you how smart of a fan Trevor is. We do bring just everybody because, you know, we're not going to exclude any fans, but I like to bring up my smart Dolphins fans friends, of course, for the nice one-on-ones.
You're setting too high.
Mr. Trevor. Question numero uno, and I think what is on everyone's mind: was this Dolphins season a success or a failure?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
It's a hard question.
That is a fair question. I think everyone kind of asks themselves that, and I think you can argue both ways. This is not one that I think you can come to an objective answer on. I will say, for everything that the Dolphins went through this year, whether it was injuries or injuries to your insurance plan, you know, just comparisons and expectations, going from one powerhouse in the division to another, for everything that we went through, and it's an embarrassing truth, I think, that the season ended with a lot of fans seeing as close as they've gotten to a win in the playoffs. You know, whether you weren't born yet or you weren't, you know, really passionate yet at the time the Dolphins last won their playoff game. For probably a good percentage of the fans, this was the farthest they got, and it's very hard for me to say that that's a failure. It's embarrassing in a lot of ways, but I don't think that's a failure. I understand if you 8-3, you don't win a playoff game. I get it. But we can talk about how I think injuries affected the season. Not that that's an excuse, but by the end, having your 7th round rookie quarterback starting and really taking it to one of the best teams in the league, I would call the season a success, and I think we should all have a lot of hope for 2023.
A lot of hope for 2023. I agree, man. You know me, I'm a hopeful Dolphins fan, but there was a lot of positives to be happy about, man. Like, it does suck to go from 8-3 to 9-8 and then not win a
Yeah.
playoff game. And there's no moral victories, man, but we
Agreed.
still fought. Like, I don't know about you. Like, I know you went to Slattery's, you, David, like Spencer, like, I know you guys went up there to
We are
like the
Dolphins
Dolphins bar
fans.
up there. How was the energy there, before the game?
You
Like
know
the
what?
expectations, I
It was
guess.
great. I was proud.
Really?
It was great. After
That's awesome.
when we were 3-0 back in a long time ago, it was absolutely slammed. And then, of course, we lost to the Bengals. There was the Tua injury, so the environment thinned out a lot. But before this playoff game, it was a great environment, and people didn't leave even after we were down 17-0.
There we go. Yeah, they were holding it down in Slattery's. You love to hear that, man. Like, that's encouraging, knowing that even like away, Dolphins fans around were just still rooting on for the team. And that's where I get your point, man. Like, this is the best we've done in a long time. It's been the most exciting Dolphins season in a while. And people could call that, oh, we're settling for mediocrity. Like, oh, we're happy with that this is our best bar. But it's just reality, like, it's reality is to say this is the best we've done in a while. And it's nice for us to show that there's some promising signs for the future for 2023. Job's not done, but we can still be not even close, but we can still be happy with what we've done so far. Like, I'm not going to keep lashing myself on the back.
I agree. And you always look, it's so funny because reactions change so quickly. I mean, take the AFC East, for example. The Patriots have been dominant for so long, and just a few years of Bills being a dominant team, and you don't really hear from Patriots fans much, and there's still no disrespect. That's another conversation. Patriots fans have been great in New England, but either way, people look at things in a microwave. What have you done for me lately? And when you see 8-3, it is tough. But remember, to the beginning of the season, we talked about how difficult the AFC would be. With the Broncos and the Raiders about to fucking dominate. Or excuse my language. I don't know if I can say that on here.
Curse all you want, baby. We rock.
That makes things easier. But yeah, we knew it was going to be a challenge. We knew there were a lot of questions, but also a lot of reasons for confidence. And I think it's so strange because I think we saw all the reasons that we were going to be confident come true. I think Tua showed that he can be that guy if he's healthy. Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead were everything we hoped they can be. Our free agent pickups, for the most part, like Armstead and Connor Williams, were really great. Then we had some things like our defense that kind of let us down in a lot of ways, although they picked it up late in the season, I think. So, I think overall we made the playoffs in the first year of a new system. We showed signs that what we were hoping for is here. Let's hope for a little bit more luck and a little bit more growth from a young team to close out some of these games or not be so negatively affected by an injury or two.
100%. I think the injuries, that was a little bit the most frustrating part, we could talk about how, like, oh, every team has to deal with injuries. It's all about next man up mentality. It's all about this and that. But at the end of the day, the defense still at times was lacking. It still at times was letting up over 30 points. Yes, did it come ready to play this playoff game? Sure, but there were still stretches in the season where it was getting gashed and where we couldn't get us off on third down or we weren't getting stops. So do you think that's depth issues of injury, or that's more of a sign of a serious problem, Trevor?
Good question. I mean, though it's not an excuse, and you are what your record says you are, I think injuries really did hurt. I think the whole Byron Jones debacle, regardless of what it was, we did not have our cornerback 2. We also lost our cornerback 3 and 4 in Nick Needham, and who am I leaving out? Who else got hurt? Brandon Jones, of course. You lost your depth pieces. Mackenzie Alexander didn't play a snap. So it's hard to mask those things. It's hard to mask your strong safety number 1, your cornerbacks 2. And Not only that, but who was our cornerback one this year? Xavian Howard or our undrafted
And
free agent?
I was saying Xavian Howard in theory, he
In
definitely
theory,
took a
on the
step
depth chart,
back this year.
probably. But who is our best corner? I don't know. Up until Xavier Howard turned it up in the Bills game. But so I think the injuries did hurt in a lot of ways. Ogba, I think losing him hurt as part of the rotation on the D line. But then also, I think we do lack depth in a lot of areas. I think clearly our cornerback depth you can't ask for much more because not many teams have, a 7-8 man deep corner or secondary. But I think we need some work on the linebackers. I think we need. I don't know if we have a above average linebacker group, and I think Boyer, the man blitzes more than anyone else, and we can't get pressure on the quarterback. So I think it's a little bit of both. I think yes, injuries played a role, but there needs to be some adjustments both in scheme and personnel.
100%, man. That I love that you touched on the Boyer point and the change in scheme, personnel. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think I know what you're gonna say. What are your thoughts on Josh Boyer? Like, are we keeping him? Are we letting him go? Are we kicking him out?
Well, notice he hasn't been fired yet, so it was not a made decision. I mean, what do I know? But it seems like it was not a deciding factor before the Bills game at all. I mean, the bottom line is, less than a week ago, we were almost in the divisional playoff round when the defense was doing pretty good. I won't say great, because we couldn't get off the field again at many times. Boyer's a tough one. Boyer's known for finding diamonds in the rough at cornerbacks. J.C. Jackson, Cater Kohu, Nick Needham. That's in his favor. I don't know if he adjusted well enough to this personnel. I think it's going to depend on how badly Mike McDaniel wants his guy, because Boyer was not his guy, and if that guy is available. I think they're really going to do their due diligence and see if they can find a replacement. But it would not totally surprise me if they kept Boyer around, because he did answer the bell a couple times, but I think if they can upgrade him, they would.
Upgrade, like, would you want like a surefire, this is a stud defensive coordinator, that kind of upgrade, or would you be willing to take like a minor upgrade and risk changing up the scheme and whatnot?
I have no idea what they plan on or think they're going to do. So this is just what, GM Trevor thoughts.
GM Trevor.
I would really like to see, an esteemed veteran like Vic Fangio or Todd Bowles come in as DC.
Okay.
Robert Saleh. I don't think he's getting fired though. I don't think he should either. But
if he did, that'd be so much fun.
Awesome. But I would love to get an esteemed veteran in. And if it's not that, I guess right now I'd trust McDaniel to bring in someone he really trusts and gels with. I don't know who that would be at this point. But that's what I would do. If I can get, a Vic Fangio, Todd Bowles, I would make that move. No idea what they're actually planning.
Yeah, I've been talking about Vic Fangio, man. Like that'd be pretty nice. Jim Schwartz was pretty cool, and then he went to Cleveland, so that sucked.
That's a good hire, I think.
I think there's this guy in Pittsburgh called Brian Flores, so something like that.
I don't think I've ever heard of him. He seems, I don't know if he's the kind of guy I want in my building. If I don't know if what he's gonna bring, I can take at face value.
Definitely not. But jokes aside, if I agree though, barring I want like a real esteemed veteran.
It would never happen.
It would never happen.
I mean, not with the Dolphins.
Not with the Dolphins. I mean, I want an esteemed veteran as well. Like I was talking about Vic Fangio, like Todd Bowles would be pretty nice as well. But barring those moves, do you think Boyer has done enough to keep his job?
I mean, it's just like when people talk about, their quarterback sucks. Well, if your quarterback sucks, there's probably not more than 20 or 25 more that are better than him. And those top 20, 25 are taken. So, yes, I think Boyer has done enough to earn his job to keep his job relative to the potential talent pool. Again, I don't know if the Dolphins are even trying to get one of those well-known veterans, or I don't know if McDaniel has a guy in mind. I don't know. I don't know. Besides the guys we mentioned, I don't know right now who would be out there. But unless they're looking for someone particular, it seems because there's been no move made. They're doing their due diligence. They're deciding. They haven't said he's coming back. Even Boyer hasn't been. He kind of knew it was up in the air. So, yeah, I think he has done enough to keep his job, unless someone really strikes their fancy. I know it's
I
not
agree.
a full answer, but
No, no.
it's
We're,
hard to
we're,
judge without being in that room.
we're a championship team. If there is room to improve at a position, I think we can all agree that
Yeah.
that's what we're supposed to do. Like whatever it is in coaching. I do think we're going to keep McDaniel. There is talk whether we should
Oh, totally.
like fire him or not. But I think,
Triple talk or
like,
click talk.
unless, I don't know, like Don Shula, Bill Belichick. Don Shula was like, "I'm back, baby. We're ready to rock." Or like Bill Belichick, or like a crazy, caliber coach.
I mean, I
Like
guess you can suggest Sean Payton, but I don't think that's happening.
Sean Payton, if there was no need to trade or no magic
Yeah.
mumbo jumbo,
Agreed.
I'd be down. No strings attached. But like, I'm not trading for a coach. What is
agree.
this?
We don't even have first round draft pick 2 trade.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm not gonna set a package deal now with late round picks for a coach. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like for an old man?
No, I would. It's probably good odds to. Actually, no, I don't think it's good odds because there's talk at all about it. Because I think the odds of McDaniel going anywhere is less than 1%, unless something really crazy happens. So if the odds were at, take it at 1%, I guess that's a good bet. But it's neither of them are good because they're talking about this, and I think that's just nonsense.
No, I agree, man.
Though McDaniel has to improve.
Of course.
It's not saying he has not proven to me that he'll be our coach for the next 10 years, despite the fact that I love him as a person. He definitely has to improve, but I think there's no question he deserves a second year.
100%. Yeah, McDaniel, he's proven a second year. After that, we can reevaluate, but I don't think he's proven anything for the long-term future. But to fire him would be just further promoting instability, and screw that, bro.
Yeah, and I'd have to imagine he'd have to have a really bad season with Tua and Tyreek to get fired next year too.
And we're going to talk about the offense in a sec. Well, I don't know. Offense or defense, Trevor? Which strikes your fancy more? Which would you rather break down?
I mean, you can't talk about one without the other. I don't know. You talk about winning championships or selling tickets. Although I can't hard to say our offensive our identity isn't our offense.
I like the way you pose that. So which is to you, which is winning championships,
Well, if you like old school football, I still think defense wins championships. I think a more updated version of that, because again, our identity might be our offense, is I think your defense sets your floor, but your offense sets your ceiling.
Agreed.
I mean, but you can't say that in a blanket either, because I mean, you look at the Ravens and the Bears and the Bucks of old who won Super Bowls off their defense, so that's a pretty high ceiling.
And now is NFL though, when there's so many high-powered offenses though, if you don't have a defense, you're gonna get run through like butter, man. Like you need at least some pieces that are gonna make some stops. Even the lowliest of teams can move the ball when needed to sometimes, man.
Yeah, my thought process is, if the other team can't score, you're gonna be in most games. So there's your floor. If you have a shitty defense, if there are other teams putting up 30, 40 points, that's a pretty low floor. And then your offense, I think that sets your ceiling, because if you got Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen, you're in every game. I don't think, especially these days where a lot of the rules are catered to the offense, there's so much emphasis right now on strong arm quarterbacks and running quarterbacks. If you can if you can, rack up all those points, if you got a Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, you're in every game because they can just always take over. What do you think?
I do agree, man. Like offense in the NFL in today's game, like look at how we generated it. It's interesting to see that, like, even with the revolving door we had at quarterback, man, like Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill still combined third most receiving yards, 3,066.
Unreal.
It's third most receiving yards by a teammate duo in league history. That is unreal, insane. Like that's with Tua, Teddy, and Skylar. Like that's
Well, you want maybe a hot take? Maybe a hot
let's
take. I don't know.
let's ride with it. I'm always down, baby.
I think I believe this. I think I believe this. All due respect to Mark Clayton and Mark Duper, but I think we've got the better duo. And
Okay.
secondly, on that same note, Tyreek Hill may be the most talented receiver to ever play for the Dolphins.
Agreed.
I'm not saying he's the best Dolphins receiver ever yet.
But talent-wise, oh yeah.
He may be the best receiver we've ever had. I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think I believe it.
Oh no, yeah. Talent-wise, what Tyreek can do, man, is insane. It's
He is a
almost
cheat.
like, could you imagine what Tyreek and Dan could have done? Like every single time Tyreek cooks someone down, would just be like, "There you are." Bing!
I mean,
Tyreek.
frankly, I wouldn't put Pat Mahomes on Dan Marino's level quite yet, although I think he's rapidly rising. I mean, the Chiefs just got the first seed and could make their fourth or fifth straight AFC championship without one of the best weapons, if not the best cheat code in the NFL. So that combination, I mean, is just crazy to think about how, they've only won one Super Bowl together, right? Two.
Kind of wild, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a reason they were so dominant. And he's just, I think this past year, Justin Jefferson was probably wide receiver 1, but he was an animal, and he deserved it. But you rarely hear in the draft the next Justin Jefferson, the next Devontae Adams. They're comparisons all the time because they're both certified elite. But you always hear the next Tyreek Hill. He can be like Tyreek Hill. Why? Because he's different. No one is like Tyreek Hill. No one can do what Tyreek Hill does. Defenders even say he runs really weird. Tyreek Hill runs weird. He's like not only is he, so fast, but he's also jacked. No one can do what Tyreek Hill does.
Absolutely no one. Like it's a very interesting thing that like we say like, oh, we've got Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. And as much as I love Jalen Waddle, and I think he's a phenomenal receiver, then when it's all said and done, Tyreek is Tyreek, and I hope Jalen Waddle becomes Jalen Waddle because he's so stocky, so fast, so athletic. Like I just don't see that kind of athlete being replicated. I don't want Waddle to have to try to focus on that. Try to chase the cheetah is not a mark that I need him to do. Become your own man.
Chase the cheetah.
No one wants to chase cheetah. No defender, no talent around him, bro. And I'm glad that he's thriving here in Miami, man. He had I don't know if I would say the best year he's had in his career. He had 1,700 yards, 7 touchdowns. Kansas, the highest he ever had was 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns. So I'll give him the edge in Miami, 300 more yards, 5 less TDs, but hell of an impact here.
It's a good question. I mean, I think he was certainly top 3. Some people may put him at 1 or 2. I might put him at the 3rd most valuable player on the team. But he was just awesome. Now he said there's some things, he wanted back. He had a couple drops too,
He did.
There were times where it looks like he was trying to make the one-hander or something like that. I don't know. He was awesome, no doubt. But hard to say if he had his best season, but he may have. And we've in the past brought in a lot of big money free agents that fizzled out, that weren't what we wanted. In fact, almost more often than not when it comes to those big name guys. Not Tyreek. Tyreek was arguably even better than he was before, which is insane to think about.
A lot of people want to deny, but there were definitely people saying, remember when the Dolphins brought Mike Wallace in? Oh, remember when the Dolphins did that? Oh, yeah. Tyreek without Mahomes, blah, blah, blah. Like, hey, Tyreek did his part here. He showed he's not here just for the money. Whether it was getting tossed around like a rag doll by Quinnen Williams, whether it was that fumble scoop, for the touchdown in the Chargers game, like Tyreek made those extracurricular plays that showed me that he wants to be a Dolphin, and he produced.
He didn't sit on his ass not once. He played when he was injured. He was an incredible leader, according to everyone who talks about it. To me, I mean, I think it's clear, he loved Miami, wanted this lifestyle. Who wouldn't? He did not sit back for a second, in my opinion.
Exactly. He's willing to work for it down here, and I love to
Mhm.
see that hunger, that fire is still there. That's one of the most positive signs, I think. And I think him and Waddle, like whatever happens at quarterback, and I think we'll save QB talk for a little later in the offensive talk, but whatever happens there, like having two monsters like Tyreek and Jalen Waddle out there, a 1,700-yard receiver and a 1,300-yard receiver out there to
We're
cushion
both top
your
10, right? What
offense.
did we finish at?
Um, we
7 or 8?
finished Dolphins 2022. We finished fourth best passing offense, average of 265.4 passing
That's
yards
the
per
whole
game.
season? That's
Yeah,
that's including the games Tua was out?
yeah.
So what was it with Tua in? That's a stat I'd like to see.
Mm. I we I don't have that one lined up for you, but I do know we're
No,
also a
that's
top 10
a
offense. You know what I'm saying?
that's an advanced analytic right there, right? What
Ooh.
someone do the math and reply to the Twitter thread or something or in the comments. But I'd
That'd
like to
be
see that
extremely
too. I mean,
helpful.
265, that's a lot. You said passing yards per game?
Yeah, passing yards
Yeah,
per
I mean
game.
that's above. I don't know what the league average is off the top, but that's a lot. So with Tua in, it has to be closer to 300, if not more.
Oh, of course, man. And we had a top 10 offense, and those are things that we can
For
be
the first
happy
time in
about.
forever, we
First
had a
time
top 10
forever,
offense.
man. Since 1995. Okay, since the Marino era, 95 or 96. But like we have shown so much promise, at least so much
Yeah,
growth on the offensive side. That I love to see that, Trevor. Like that's makes me happy. And that's why I think when we were talking about Mike McDaniel earlier, like he's got a lot to grow on. He's got a lot to improve.
yeah.
He's made some errors, but at least on offense, there's a lot of promising signs. Thankfully, we're keeping Darrell Bevel as well. He's
Yeah,
not
I
going to
hope
the Jets.
yeah, those declined interviews were pretty cool. I hope that, I'm holding my breath a little bit because he can always, get offered, the Jets will say like, "Oh yeah, we'll give you 5 million more dollars." So who knows? But I'm holding my breath, but I think that's great news if he stays. I think, if I can't say exactly, the causation between his effect, but he into his ear every play. He's an experienced quarterback coach, and Tua had a great year. So I'm really happy to hear that Bevel's probably coming back.
I think they're gonna give him more play calling duties, so that might be like a little bit more enticing as well.
True.
Like, yo, like get a little bit
Yeah.
more, get a little bit more reps in this. Drive your value up, boss man, and then we can renegotiate. We can talk.
That's a good point
Uh,
because McDaniel was the primary play caller, right? So
yeah,
they could have very well talked about that because that's one of the primary areas McDaniel we all know, has to improve at. So if Bevel can, focus on that, McDaniel focus on something else, and like you said, it's basically like going back for a senior year to improve your draft stock. That's a good point.
there we go. Exactly. It's like I like that college analogy. It's like going back for your senior year, improve your draft stock, improve your value a little bit, get some more money for you, Mister
Exactly. We
DB.
got color plays. Our window's open, man.
Our window's
Um,
open, bro. You want the national exposure down here? We're ready to rock, bro. Don't go anywhere. Don't leave. Don't leave. Don't leave. But
it is nice to hear that he chose to come back or seemingly really wants. You got to imagine he believes in what we're building.
gotta believe what we're building because it's not done yet. Like the offensive
Cool.
line, we went from 32nd ranked to 22nd ranked. The running game went from 30th to 25th. So there were jumps, but not the craziest spikes. I wanted to see at least the 16 mark for offensive line.
Yeah, man, that would be. I mean, it feels like it hasn't been there in a long time.
And I
Hasn't been there.
whiffed on running backs. I said top 10. That was totally off.
Oh, it's running back. Wait, running backs. You want to see him, or where were they this year?
No. I missed myself on the offensive line prediction, and I also missed on running backs reaching a top 10 rushing offense.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah, I think Mostert being out of that Bills game made a big difference. He was great. Mostert I thought was great this year. He was our best free agent running back in pickup in the last few years. When we were used to Jordan Howard, Matt Breida. Mostert was great.
he lasted most of the season too, honestly. Banged up a tad.
Yeah, I think we got more than we expected with Mostert and Armstead.
I
They
agree.
played more than their average.
That's something that Greer he did talk about, like in his press conference. Like they questioned him whether it was partially player acquisition and looking and should we avoid injury prone players and stuff like that, or if it's worth signing him. And Chris Greer said, of course it's worth signing him. Like he thought we got enough value out of Teron Armstead. I think you're right. I think we got enough value out of Raheem Mostert as well. I think the for the right contract, the risk always is outweighed by the reward that we can get by these great talented players. And I'm glad
Yeah,
to see what Mostert brought for us.
I mean, I 100% think that one of the writers called Armstead the signing a failure, and I totally
Failure.
disagree. I think
Failure.
I think he also kind of flip flop on his opinion, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, no, I think they were great additions. I think they lived up to their billing 100%, which we're not always used to, like I said. But they also got to taste their own medicine. The injuries hurt. Losing Armstead, played a role in a couple of our losses. I think we only won one game with him out. That may have been the Jets game. And Mostert was out. You sign these injury-prone guys, and you can't be so surprised when you get injured. And I mentioned earlier that I think Tyreek Hill was the third most valuable player on the team. You could argue two for sure, because I think two is number one. I think number two is Armstead. He's no doubt the anchor and the leader of that offensive line. And when a player like that goes down, he's not exactly replaceable. Respect to Brandon Shell on the right side, who is a great find, and who was mostly kicked out on the left side. Greg Little.
Little.
Who else started at left tackle? Too many guys, but respect to them. But even the best of the best are in Armstead. There are a few players in the league better than Armstead. So they definitely got a taste of their medicine, or laid in their own bed, whatever analogy you want to use. But I do think they were worth the pickups. Hopefully we get a little luckier next year.
I agree. I think that the offensive line is not done being built. Obviously, health permitting, we would have maybe got him to 16. Maybe if Armstead had played the whole year, maybe if we hadn't had a revolving door at tackle, if Liam Eichenberg hadn't gone down, so many what ifs. But do you think we've got a how big of an offensive line change are we talking about? Like bringing in new center, new tackle, just adding like more depth?
Well, certainly not a new center, I'd say. I think Connor Williams was a huge surprise by how good he was. He played 100% of the offensive snaps this year. Beginning of the season, there was concern about his penalties, and he got some penalties, but it wasn't an egregious concern, I thought. And I think he was, by most analytics and ratings, ranked top 10 center. I thought he was great. I think Austin Jackson, and everything I've heard, he remains in the team's plans. He was playing okay, I guess, when he was in, but of course was injured. Eichenberg, I'm not personally very high on. Who do we start in the Bills game? Lester Cotton. I did not think.
Lester Cotton, baby. We signed him to a reserve future contract.
No, that's good. Good for him. He had a snap for us before that game, and I did not think he was a noticeable drop off from Eichenberg. Though he did give up a pressure on the final play. So I think you may look for competition at left guard. I think your right guard is set with Hunt. So I think in an ideal world, your three right spots, center, right guard, and right tackle, are set. Austin Jackson, I still don't know. Hopefully he gets better, or he's definitely not the answer. And left tackle, you got 1 or 2 more years out of Armstead, realistically. You probably don't have 3 more years out of him. So you definitely need to draft a guy or get a swing guy who's serviceable, because you certainly can't rely on Armstead for 16 games. But next year, he's certainly the starter. You got to draft a guy. You got to develop a guy, because after all this work, our offensive line is still not there.
Still not there, man. I like what Matt Applebaum has done. It does suck with the injuries. But yeah, I'm down to add a little more life into the offensive line room, see how it shakes out a little bit. The only reason why I was thinking of maybe getting a center is because then you move Connor Williams back to guard. You don't
I thought he was better at center than guard.
That's valid. Yeah, my thing is just you got to target on a lineman position, whether it's a center or a left guard. And
yeah, I mean, if you can find, I don't know right now who the centers in the free agent market are going to be. If you can find a top one, worth consideration to move
to replace Connor. Yeah. If not, I'm down to rock for a left guard. I don't think it should be too hard to find an improvement over Lester Cotton. Like that's sounds like it's going to be a lot more of a feasible option. And the Dolphins do go to the path of least resistance. So it looks like we're going left guard shopping. I'm down for that, man. I don't know if we'll find someone in the draft.
I mean, you'd like to think your offensive line is set, right? I mean, I think center and right guard are trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Teron Armstead, while he's playing, is great. And you drafted Liam Eichenberg and Austin Jackson like 42 and 18, something like that.
Yeah.
So you would like
Sounds
to
about
think
right, unfortunately.
So you like to think it's set, but you still got some questions and some injury risk. Because also at the end of the day, we were on, our third and fourth left tackle, our second and third left guard, but still, even when fully healthy, they're not there yet.
Matt fins up. We're talking about the offensive line right now. Offensive line, like running back. Yeah. Like fully healthy, they're really not there, man. Like, well, I need them at full health, ready to go. A lot of it, I feel like, is chemistry too. Like once they start playing together and actually having like more time, like actually having Teron Armstead, probably Liam Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson for another year out there together, health permitting. It'll hopefully be better to see. Do you think that helps us in the running game, Trevor?
The gelling offensive line, or the more they work together?
Yeah, or do you think we need to like bring in like are we staying with Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, or are we bringing in new guys, draft, free agency?
I think both, maybe. I do think number one, there's a lot of merit to the offensive line spending more time together. I think, especially with the history with McDaniel, that Mostert and Jeff Wilson, I had no problem with them. I thought they were, I think the running game really got going. Although it was hard to establish a running game against, the Bills and the Jets to end the season. So it's hard to totally say. At the end of the day, Mostert is an injury risk. I think it would behoove them to finally draft their guy. I mean, like J.K. Dobbins, Javonte Williams, it was at least reported that they were intending to or considering taking them. And we were sniped one pick ahead by the Ravens and the Broncos. So, one led to Robert Hunt, one led to, I think, Javon Holland, right? So actually, maybe that was a good thing.
2 wins right there.
Yeah, I mean, those are especially, those are 2 wins actually. But either case, I think it would be really smart to bring another running back in the draft. Hope, third, fourth round, at least somewhere in the draft. And if he becomes something great, if not, he can plug in when we have an injury.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm down. I liked what I saw what we got from the guys we've got. I'm not opposed to bringing back like Jeff Wilson or Raheem Mostert. I do want to add someone to the draft. Third or fourth round sounds just about right. Because we shouldn't use our second round pick on a running back, right, Trevor? As beautiful as it sounds.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. The problem with running backs is that they have, 90% of them have such a
short
statistically likely shelf life. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about fantasy football a few months back, and it's like when a running back hits 28 years old, which is so young in the real world, but old for running back, they're exactly, and it's statistically likely. So it's very tough. I mean, Zeke had a fine year and is still in. Saquon is doing well. I agree. Mostert and Wilson, they're not that expensive. I do think, they may be looking at, that third guy, Ahmed.
Yeah.
So he's filled in. I was proud and impressed with Ahmed to play more than Mostert or Gaskin did. But yeah, I mean, especially with the injury risk, maybe you need a little bit more beef on the offensive line. But I do like our cheap running backs, and I think unless you can get, again, someone like a Josh Jacobs, who I know you mentioned earlier, at least to me, if you can draft a guy that can at least be serviceable and to develop, it's hard to invest someone that high in a running back because they may only have a few years on you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I don't like giving running backs even second contracts usually. If you do find a veteran later on, you can get like Jeff Wilson, Raheem Mostert, like we talk about for cheap, and that's cool because we do need to beef up other positions. I did talk about Shakes with you beforehand. There's like a couple of running backs who I have my eye on that if they're available in free agency, I want to know what your thoughts on them are. Like a Josh Jacobs, like a Tony Pollard. Would you want to see those guys start trying to be like running like workhorse backs for McDaniel? Would you rather see that money invested elsewhere?
That's a tough question because those are good running backs. Those are good running backs you mentioned, but at the same time, we have a lot of guys that we're about to have to pay.
Yeah.
Number one is Tua, who we have a couple years left. I think they'll certainly pick up his 5th-year option and delay that decision while they can. But you're going to have Waddle, you're going to have Holland and Phillips. You just
Wilkins is
paid
coming
Chubb.
up.
Wilkins, that I really hope they give the bag to. So I don't know if you can prioritize a veteran running back there, to be honest.
Agreed. We might have to just settle something. I mean, I say settle. I hope we snipe something in the draft, but we might just have to rely on the draft, 3rd or 4th round. Hope that McDaniel and Greer are able to work together and find this running back that fits the McDaniel scheme that we can just plug in and just work and run around with. Man, it's always better to have a running back on a rookie contract, anyways. Like you said, short shelf life. It's just nice and cheap, and move on in a couple of years, and we'll figure out a new running back. But for now,
if you look back the past 10, 15 years, we'd have to do it on paper, but I think most Super Bowl winners, did not have a dominant running back. I don't know. I'm a big fan of old school football. I love having Alec Ingold and a fullback on the roster, but I think
Lynch is like the last one.
Say again?
Marshawn Lynch is like the last one.
And yeah, to have you look at the 49ers. They have McCaffrey now, but they've been a ground and pound running game even before McCaffrey with Mostert and Elijah Mitchell. Look, when the Chiefs won the Super Bowl, it was Damian, what was his name? Former Dolphin. Can't think of his name.
Damian Williams.
Damian Williams, thank you.
Yeah.
We can pull it up another time, but I'd like to go back at the last, 10, 15 Super Bowl winners and see who the running backs were.
Yeah, I think the only true like dominant real running back was probably like the Patriots had Damian Harris. That's what Matt was saying. But like the true dominant one would have to be like Marshawn Lynch, I think. And like I think that's the last like old school like real running back drives the offense kind of guy.
Saquon is a great running back.
I feel like that won a Super Bowl.
Oh, that won a Super Bowl. Yeah, no, even you're probably right. Leonard Fournette is a good player, but I don't want on the Bucs that he was not as good as he was on the Jags. Very good player though. Definitely would have to go back, but I don't know. I think for us especially, that money is better spent elsewhere.
Yeah, I'd rather beef up the O-line with some money, whether that's depth, whether that's maybe finding, a nice left guard and allowing Eichenberg and Austin Jackson to recompete and then letting the other ones sit on the bench and develop, whatever it may be. Invest that money elsewhere and keep the nice RB price on the low, I'm down for that. And upgrade as well. What's up, Hooked Up Joe, by the way? Thanks for tuning in. Good vibes. Fins up, everyone.
Comments.
Fins up. All that being said, good receiving weapons, good offensive line, good running back. Before we go into quarterback, Mike Gesicki, he's gone, right? You saw what he was like posting on Twitter and stuff. He had
a really nice message, a really thoughtful message. He's clearly a fan favorite, as I think he should be. I love the guy.
Thank you for everything.
I wish in a perfect world he would be my wide receiver 3. But it's hard to see a path for him back to the Dolphins right now, especially when you consider money.
That's what kind of made me think about him right before he moved on to QB. Like that money situation, man. Like
I feel bad for him too because he's on a contract year. He got the tag this year, and he did not showcase, what he's best at. Some because he had some drops or whatever, but he had a good number of touchdowns. But he was not clearly clearly wasn't the focal point. Wasn't making those crazy catches. I think he'll make a lot of money. I mean, he already has, certainly, but now you can't feel too bad. But I would love to see him back in the aqua and orange, but it's hard to see that right now.
It really is hard to see that. I mean, like Chris Greer said, like he has earned the right to test free agency or whatever.
It's like softening the blow.
Jesus,
we're doing it for him.
You're welcome, Big Mike. You're welcome. We're not rehiring you. You're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. He said he loves South Florida, but clearly he's at least going to free agency, and I don't know if we're gonna have we're gonna fight very hard to outbid someone else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we do get a 3rd round pick if we let him walk. We'd probably use to draft a tight end.
It's true.
But if not, like if you get him, like in an ideal world, man, if you could take wide receiver 3 money, I'm down. If we could just like confuse him and just convince him, that'd be really cool.
Cedric Wilson get paid this year? Not too much.
I think like 8 million.
Yeah, 8 million.
I think like 8 million, bro.
Certainly no more than 11 million that Gesicki got paid.
Cedric Wilson, no way more than Gesicki. Cedric Wilson contract. I think it's like a 3-year, 24. Yeah, 3-year, $22 million.
Oh, I pay Gesicki that to be a receiver in a heartbeat, but Gesicki probably wants more than that.
Of course he wants more. I would want more too if I'm Big Mike, man. There is a team that's going to pay him. That's what I'm saying. We can't feel too bad for him, but it is going to be a shame to see him.
But you know what? He never said a peep about it. Never bitched about being on the franchise tag. Never complained about not getting enough targets. I think he's one of the ultimate team players.
Exactly. Yeah, no, he played through and through. He celebrated with everybody. He played hard. He was involved with the team. And not everybody acts that way on the tag, honestly, which, and rightfully so. Some people get very frustrated on the tag.
Or on any contract they don't deem high enough.
100%. Yeah. A lot. It's a frustrating thing in the NFL, honestly, recently. Like thankfully it hasn't been.
I got to say that jersey behind your head for one, right?
Oh, Mr. Xavian Howard, bro. He is the king of the contract.
Do we get to take away some of that money, right, for performance, right?
Breach a contract.
Hey, you wanted a raise for a good performance.
Well, okay. So I was on a morning show. Shout out Clock Blockers, my guy Stephen D. He was saying that we should talk to Xavian Howard to ask him if we could renegotiate and be like, "Yo, Xavian Howard, we were good to you, bro. Like when you wanted cornerback 1 money, we gave you that money. Well, now you played like a cornerback 2, so can we pay you cornerback 2 money?" and he was like, Xavian Howard should be agreeable. And like, I wish it worked that way. Like, I wish he would be like, you know what? Like, he was like, you're right, guys. Like, my usefulness has
my bad.
My bad.
No, that doesn't work.
Take it back.
Nor do I necessarily think it should. If that would be kind of crazy. I mean, think about everyone has a job where they have up days, down days, up years, down years. You wouldn't want your paycheck decreasing, or you'll probably leave, which, power to the people, but it is. You never want to see your guy
quarterly contract. You had like a quarterly contract and you just had to like survive each quarter and just hope Trevor just be like, please.
Listen, man, I'm in sales. That's my life.
Yeah, true.
I'm just hoping for the best every month, every 3 months.
Every 3 months, just hoping for the best. Oh, the life of Trevor, baby. I mean, yeah, man. Xavian Howard, like, do you think we keep him then?
Yeah. I mean, he'll be a Dolphins at least till his contract runs out. I don't, unless it's hard for me to see him not, being a Dolphin at least through the remainder of his contract.
We joked about it in the beginning of the show. Who's a true cornerback 1, like Kader Kahu or Xavian Howard, and like. I don't know if it's kind of a testament to what Kader Kahu has done this season, but it's kind of also like Xavian Howard has taken a step back, man. Like,
yeah, it is. And now credit to Xavian Howard for really stepping up in the Bills game after he got burned for a touchdown. Though the 0 blitz was a terrible call there, in my opinion. But yeah, Kader Kahu was
all year.
A huge fine for that. That's an undrafted free agent. You rarely hit even a single on those. So the fact that he was able to, what would you do without him? Then Keon Crosson's your wide receiver 2, or Noah Benogany's coming in. So
But yeah, Keanu Noah corner 2 would be so scary. But the
No?
guys in the chat are right. Xavian Howard was banged up. He did play through injuries, a lot more
Yes,
than
he
we
played
can say
through.
that from Byron Jones.
That's true. Xavian Howard played through groins plural injury, which has got to suck. I don't know what that means. I've only heard groin singular
Yeah,
on the
I didn't
injury
even know
report.
you had multiple groins, bro.
You,
Like,
you apparently have multiple groins. Can you believe that?
I thought you
It's a
just had
whole new.
one.
Listen, we should all be proud and excited for the new opportunities. But yeah, so that's gotta suck to run if you know what the between your legs are aching. That's gotta suck. Not that I would know, but he also had a speaking of groins, a lawsuit at the beginning of the season, which for his respect and privacy we don't have to go into. But then a lot on his mind, I guess.
A lot in his mind, and he still played through it, man. Like, I think
He played
Byron.
through it. He played through
I
it.
think Byron's gone, right? Byron's bye bye.
That would be my guess. I don't know. I heard two different things from coaches on him. Who knows what the hell happened with Byron Jones? Sam Madison said, who we all love Sam Madison. Sam
Oh,
Madison said that
Sam.
some players play through injuries, others don't. Maybe there are some areas that Byron Jones could have helped. That's what Sam Madison said, and he left it at that. Then I believe it was Boyer who said that Jones was doing everything he can. Maybe it was McDaniel. That Jones was doing everything he can to play. Maybe he was just capping to stick up for his guy. Who's telling the full truth? I don't know. It seemed very transparent from Sam Madison. Like, you don't often hear that. But who knows? It sucks if, but you also think about it, if he's like, let me get healthy and still get the bag, how many people wouldn't say yes to that? So hard to say. I think Byron Jones is not going to be a Dolphin for much longer.
No, yeah, I cannot blame a guy for putting his health first. Like, it is his body, his
Look, some
body, his
people don't
choice,
live for
baby.
football. Some people are just supreme athletes and don't love the game. They wouldn't do anything for the game. And that's fine. Most people don't love their job. The game of football and the ultimate team sport, you always want to think that the guys who make it to that level are like that. And you take a guy like Tua, it's a whole nother conversation, but I don't think there's any chance that Tua would retire if he didn't have to. Even if I had the same capabilities that Tua does, which I do not, I still would not be Tua because I don't have that mindset. Tua has that mindset. Some guys are
I'm
just
soft,
supreme
bro.
athletes. Byron Jones is a supreme athlete. He set the combine record for like an Olympic record for broad jump on his draft. That was him. But he may not love, or die for the game of football, but I wouldn't die for my job either. So
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm proud of Xavian Howard for playing through the injuries. Like, I'll badmouth him to chirp him a little bit, but I still got his jersey on the wall.
Yeah, no,
Byron
Xavian Howard
Jones
is still a great Dolphin. He had a tough year for him, but it's not a tough enough year to make me lose faith or turn on him. Not at all.
Exactly. And then, but on the same token, like, even though I'm proud of Xavian Howard's play through his injury, like, I can't also fault Byron too much for trying to protect his body as well. Like, I do see both sides.
Listen, if every person could be in the NFL if they chose to, make that their job, I feel like most of them would not play through injury. It takes a special breed of person to be in the NFL. So most of them have a certain type of mindset, but not all of them do. And you can't say that Byron Jones doesn't because very few people actually know what was going on. So it's just protection. You hope that if he could have played, he would have. But who knows?
Do you think we'll trade him?
I would love to trade him. Take like a team like the Raiders that, kind of sucked in the secondary. You're going to give me a third and a fifth for Byron Jones? That's a lot with the contract as well, but I would love to trade him. Better than letting him walk.
That's what I'm saying. I'd like to trade him, Yeah, I don't want to cut him, like, I mean, if we're talking about freeing up cap space, and we'll see how that works, but like,
have to be a June 1st designation, post June 1st, to save some dead money. I don't quote me on that though, because I need to see what those ramifications would be. Some guys,
you quoted it's too late.
Take that hit.
You're quoted. It's too late. It's already being printed as we
gospel,
speak.
baby.
Yeah, it's it's gospel, baby. No, man, like it's I'd love to move him for the third and a fifth. Would be nice, and they take off that contract off our books. There we go. I don't think we're gonna like get a piece for him. Picks is probably what we're gonna be aiming for. So I'll take a third and a fifth for him, Trevor, as long as they
Oh,
eat all
I
the
would do
money.
that in a heartbeat for sure. I don't know if we'll get a third and a fifth for him, especially if we offload that contract too.
Yeah, how like like the two questions I'm seeing in the chat are would his contract be assumed for 2 years only? Or do you think we could even get a second round pick? Like, like I don't know how the contract money works. So I was just like, I don't know how it works at all, Trevor. So I was just asking to see if you do. I don't know if we get a second round pick for Byron Jones, though, to be fair.
I can see a higher pick if we eat the contract. If we stay on the books, like we did that for Tannehill a little bit. That happens all the time. You trade a player and you take on that contract, so he plays for quote unquote cheaper on another team, but you pay for it. In a lot of there are some trades where you're almost like buying a draft pick, and I think that's a
Valid.
viable strategy. We got to see what happens with some of the guys we do have to pay. Number one, Wilkins. We just paid Chubb. That would be tough. I could definitely see us trying to eat the contract if we can afford it. But otherwise, it's hard to imagine getting much for a guy who didn't play last year with an expensive contract. That's a tough recipe.
Yeah. So we keep X. We move on from Byron. How confident are you in the secondary there? A lot of moves, or we just wait for Trill Williams, Nick Needham to come back? Do
I
we
hope
just wait
so.
for Cater Kahu?
I hope so. I think if Brandon Jones is a big piece, I think Brandon Jones and Javon Holland, your safety tandem is set. It's hard with if Xavian Howard doesn't rebound, we may not have a true corner one.
That's what I'm saying.
So
Like, do you want to add a new piece, or are you okay with what we've got?
I think you do have to add a new piece, whether in the draft or free agency, and that's partly why I don't think Byron Jones is going to be back, because if you draft a guy, especially if you draft a guy high, you want to play him. If you can't sign another expensive cornerback with Byron Jones and Xavian Howard, but you may need an expensive cornerback. I don't know if Howard without a rebound, if Howard rebounds, then he and anyone at cornerback too is probably fine. Cater Kohu was very serviceable there for most of the year. I think Nick Needham's a free agent too, I think. I would love to see him.
We expressed talks to want him to come back. He's on that second round tender last year. So I think we talked saying we might want him to return. So that'd be pretty nice.
I would love him back. Another undrafted free agent who, is already has a better career than most in the NFL, and made a difference when he was out.
He truly did. Like I missed him for a long time, man. Like when Nick Needham went down, the big 40, man, he's an absolute monster.
Tough
An absolute shame.
Too. Tough injury.
Tough ACL tear, man. Oh, is Achilles?
It was Achilles, dude. Yeah.
Well, that might also be why he wants to come back. Why would it make most sense for like a return to the Dolphins for both parties? Is just because he won't get as much money elsewhere, and then here he can stay recovering and he can rebound. Yeah. We know how to use him, and almost like a prove it deal kind of thing, and Rigo get his money later on. But that's a damn shame
for him that he has to. Yeah, totally. I couldn't agree more. What you just said.
Damn shame. He's earned it. Like I think he's a great slot corner in general. I think he's a fantastic undrafted free agent.
Absolutely. One of the, not too many undrafted free agents are starters and on your team for even 2 years, let alone I think, going on 4 or 5.
Yeah. But I agree, man. There's a lot of pieces we might have to move, like if it's like assuming we move on from Byron, but we stay with the pieces we have, because let's say linebackers. Would you want to shake up linebackers? Like, do we want to add something like to free agency, or like is Channing Tindall? We got it with our highest draft pick last year in the 3rd round. He didn't really do much.
He didn't do shit. But I have heard that coaches like Tindall. I have heard they plan on, continuing to invest in developing him. It's like our linebacker. I don't know about our linebackers. Landon Roberts is a great leader. He's a great run stuffer. Baker, I am a big fan of Baker. He's kind of in between. He's not great in coverage, but he's and also not as good as Roberts at run stuffing, but he's a little bit faster, so he's kind of in between there. Van Ginkel, I really like. I'm a big fan of Van Ginkel. In fact, he's probably the linebacker I trust the most at this point.
Really?
AVG, yeah.
Mr. Average.
AVG 4-3. But I don't know. It's tough to say because, again, you'll have – it's like you have a bunch of linebacker twos, you don't have that top guy, but if you have another linebacker too, who's on the bench, I don't want to bench those guys either. It's a tough call with the linebackers. I think we're in an awkward spot, having guys that are too good to dump, but not good enough to, be totally reliable on them.
I agree, man. I tease like Andrew Van Ginkel, AVG. I'm sure he's heard me one time because when he tried to sign my hat, he gave the most half-hearted. He barely wrote the A, I guess.
No, you called him Mr. Average.
Yeah, he's definitely. Maybe
this guy.
He's like, this that chump, bro.
You're talking about a man who scored a defensive touchdown on Tua's first start.
Hey, man. Andrew Van Ginkel, all props to you, man, and I hope you are a Dolphin for a bit because he has earned my respect. It has been harder and harder to make the AVG average joke this season.
No, he's good, man. He's
I'm
very
saying
good.
it was never a very good joke to begin with, but now it's definitely a lot harder to rub it even through. I'd like to see him back though, man. I agree. I like the statement saying we've got too many good guys that we can't let them go, but you want to upgrade, but it's a little hard to. I almost compare it to like a running.
Just like we were talking about earlier, of depending on what position, there are only, 30 to 60 guys that can do that job at a level that's high enough to start at the highest possible level. So you want to get rid of Jerome Baker or Landon Roberts? Fine. Who are you going to take instead? Now we'll see what the draft holds. We don't have a first round draft pick, so we're not talking about anyone drafting that high. But we'll see what the free agents are. That'll be a conversation for, a month from today. But who knows? That's a tough one.
It's tough, man. I'd love to see a true bona fide middle linebacking, sideline to sideline patrolman causing havoc.
I think Fred Warner was taken 3 picks ahead of Jerome Baker in the same draft. That's a sad one. That's a sad one, man. And I love Jerome Baker. I really do. I think he's a great guy, great teammate, great player, but he's no Fred Warner. That's for sure.
He's no Fred Warner.
But no one is. Fred Warner might be the best in the league right now.
That's crazy. That's fuck, bro. You're flipping my flippers, bro. That's crazy.
I think the word. I apologize to Noah Igbenogany, and I will actually, after I say this, I'll defend Noah Igbenogany. But that was a rough one. That was, J.K. Dobbins, Cesar Ruiz, Antonio Winfield Jr. That was a tough one. And I'm sure a number of players who were drafted even later. However, on the Noah – oh, God, look at my face. On the Noah Igbenogany front, true or false, Fernando, Noah Igbenogany made the single most impactful play of the regular season when he intercepted Kenny Pickett for the win on Sunday Night Football.
Dude, especially with the ramifications that it came down to us or Pittsburgh.
That was the play that put us over the not saying, Steelers weren't guaranteed to win either way. If that was a completed pass, they would have won. Or if Pickett ran for the first down, they could have won that game. But whatever happened, whatever led up to it, Noah fucking Igbenogany made the walk-off interception. And at the end of the day, that sent us to the playoffs.
It truly did.
You can talk about, Jalen Waddle go ahead and walk-off touchdown against the Ravens. You can talk about other plays like that too. But especially when it was Steelers versus Dolphins,
Especially when all the Steelers fans were complaining and crying. They're like, oh, stupid horse collar, stupid ref, stupid this, stupid that. We should have been in. It's all Kenny Pickett had to do, or it might have even been Mitch Trubisky at the time, whoever it was. All the Steelers had to do was avoid getting picked off by Noah Igbenogany, and you were good to go.
At the end of the day, if they did not get intercepted by Noah Igbenogany, a corner who can hardly be active, they could have made the playoffs. And because of that, they didn't. So there's some Noah Igbenogany love for you. There's not too much out there, even though he's actually a great guy for all intents and purposes, it seems. Another guy that never complains and is always just talking about waiting for his opportunity.
He had a great smile on him, man. When I saw him at training
Always.
camp, he seems like a very happy, positive dude, bro. Like,
Yeah, and I'm sure, he's gotten a lot of criticism, a lot of hate. So good for him to, mentally weather that storm.
of course, man. I mean, there was literally people like screaming and cheering for True Williams more, literally right next to him, and I was like, "Damn, bro, you're a first rounder. That's definitely got to sting a little bit, Like the undrafted free agent right next to you
Yeah.
is getting more love. Like he was just
Yeah.
smiling through it, bro. He was very positive about it. Like, there you go, bro. That's a teammate right there.
Absolutely, 100%.
D line. Jalen Phillips, I think, he still had a pretty nice, solid year, man. And it was another year where there was a lot of almost plays, but I think he still had I still think he was pretty good.
I think Jalen Phillips was very good and saved his best for last. I think
It started slow, but he started cooking towards the end.
He started cooking. I think he was a monster, and he was almost unblockable against Buffalo. I think the jury's still out on Chubb. We'll see.
He got a sack.
He
got a sack
lives
in
up to the
Buffalo.
billing. I thought Chubb was fine. I don't know if he's the $20 million man yet. I think Wilkins and Phillips improved their performance when Chubb came on board, so that's not for nothing. Ogba was not having a good season before it's a shame for him that he got hurt. He won like the community service award, I think, for the team.
There we go.
Yeah, so it's a shame for Ogba. He got hurt. He did not have a very good season, or wasn't, after he got paid. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. But I think Sealer is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. I think Jalen Phillips could be our defensive. Well, he's actually a linebacker technically, but he can be an edge guy for the next 10 years. And then Wilkins, I hope, is a Dolphins lifer. The fact that he wasn't at least a second team All-Pro, I think, is a crime. He plays kind of, he's a 3-4 right end. So he's competing with guys like Bosa and Myles Garrett, which makes it tough. 3-4 end.
Yeah.
But I hope we give him the bag, man. I mean, Josh Allen is not as good because of Christian Wilkins' presence. Josh Allen or Christian Wilkins just gets under his skin. And that is a value add to our team.
Dude, it's the way he goes about it too. Like it is
so
not he's actually hilarious. Like you can't penalize him either. He's like, no, you can't say that. He's like, I'm gonna get you.
Wrong, Billy.
Imagine telling the referee, ref, you got to throw a flag at him. He just told me the price is wrong. Like you're like, you'd be like, sorry, bro, just suck it up. Like he's just playing these little mental warfare games, and I love that
exactly.
from a guy who also has the exactly throwing the little touch. I love what he did on Josh Allen because he's got the talent to back it up too. It's not like he's just this little flair player. Like no, Christian Wilkins is phenomenal, bro.
He had a great season. I think he broke the record for tackles by a defensive tackle. What was it?
Bro. 98 total tackles, 5 pass breakups, 3.5 sacks. I missed the forced fumbles thing, and then a fumble recovery too, and a pick.
Yeah, that 98 was some sort of record. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's a record for most tackles by an interior defensive lineman. Like it's insane. It's insane. Yeah. At least over the last decade, I think. Maybe like a real record,
Yeah, so
I'm pretty sure it's a real record, but at the very least, over
find that and put in the comments or later on, that'll be good. But
he's a monster. Yeah, he's a monster. That's all I know.
I think he actually, if you believe in social media, he posted on his Instagram season, thanks and moving on, and he said, "Miami, we're just getting started." So that indicates
moving on, and my heart dropped for a second, Trevor. I was like, I hate.
Yeah, it was the opposite of Gesicki's. Though Gesicki had a great message, Gesicki's was like, that feels a little bit like a breakup. Christian Wilkins said we're just getting started. So that seems to indicate they've at least, opened up those discussions.
I agree, man. My big theory is, the Dolphins sent us all these posters. Mike Gesicki is not on this poster. Durham Smythe is at the bottom. You feel me?
You are very right. I've only seen one time. Right, I think about that too, because whenever they say they do the hype promos, they do, these people know they're not putting a guy who's gone at the star of their, the star of their posters or videos. I can only think of one time when that happened, and there was a hype video that it was like a movie prepping for the season, and it was like starring whoever, and Devon Godshaw, and Godshaw ended
Oh,
it. Um,
I
but
miss Godchild. That was
I
cool.
liked Godshaw, yeah. And then I thought though Adam Butler was a reasonable, a pretty equivalent replacement for him. But then this year he didn't pass his physical, so he didn't play for us.
Yeah, it was like
That's pretty weird.
we've
John
got.
Jenkins, John Jenkins
would
was
say
pretty good though, for the
we
depth
got a
piece.
talented D line, bro. It's very deep as well. Like
Yeah.
it's one of our most impressive units, which is why when it doesn't always produce, it's kind of weird. But
It is, which is
run stopping, it's phenomenal this season.
the run stopping, which we have not been good at recently, was phenomenal this season. But I think just what you said is the biggest point against or anti-Boyer, because they have the talent on defense. I think besides maybe linebackers, like we just talked about, they have the talent on defense. I think their secondary is with a good Xavian Howard. I think their secondary is set. And again, a little bit of luck with injuries. And I think their defensive line is set. We blitzed more than anyone, or at least in the top 5, and we were not getting the pressure. What's the deal? I think that could Boyer not adjust as well away from Brian Flores and the cover 0 amoeba defense? I don't know, but it'll be an interesting topic to follow.
That'll be pretty cool to see because we do have the talent, man. Like that's why it is frustrating sometimes when they produce, but it's like, yo, you should be producing at a much higher clip because you have so many good players. I should be seeing you with 4 men getting pressure, absolutely rattling everyone.
This defense had too many good players to be bottom 10 in several categories.
Agreed. It was frustrating at times, which is why it was a mixed bag for defense, man.
Look, at the end of the day, and I do think the defense picked it up near the end of the season. They were great versus Buffalo in week 3. But, at the end of the day, everything we hoped that would happen on offense besides injuries happened. Tyreek, Tua, Armstead, Waddle, Mostert, Connor Williams, great. They were all great. Defense let us down for one reason or another. So, it was a total flip from last season, So hopefully they can rebound, because if they rebound next year and we stay healthy on offense, that's a scary team.
Scary freaking team indeed, man. If we could rebound on the defense, figure it out on offense, my God, bro.
I know I don't want to keep everyone waiting. While the time we have left, you were going to ask me about Tua, right?
Yes. Tua. Trevor, I tried to save the QB towards the end, and that's I think that's the point we've gotten to, man. Quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa, you rocking with him? I know we've talked a little bit. It sounds like you and I are both agree that we're going to pick up the 5th-year extension. What's the game plan then?
So, Fernando, we know each other very well personally, so you know how I feel about Tua. Most people who know me personally or have seen me at games know how I feel about Tua. I am a huge Tua fan. I'm not a big jersey guy typically, but I have his jersey and I wear it a lot.
There we go.
Tua is, in my opinion, the man. I think he showed this year what he's capable of. When he was healthy, he was more times than not an elite quarterback this year, and I don't think that's debatable. He finished the year number 1 in passer rating, number 1 in yards per attempt, and those two things do not go hand in hand. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle is an elite tandem, but they were clearly not the same when Tua was out. So you can't tell me that he didn't make that difference. We only lost 1 game with Tua, starting and finishing. I think we only lost 1 game with Tua. 2 games if you include the Packers game, but now we know that he was kind of fucked up at the end of the Packers game. No, we lost the Chargers game too, so not just 2. But in either case,
we won a lot more with Tua.
Yeah, I mean, for a while he was like 7-0, 8-0. Then we hit that skid. But regardless, I think Tua showed us who he can be. Like someone said, "Oh, well, this is Tua's ceiling, so whatever." That's a really fucking good ceiling. He led the league in quarterback. He was an MVP candidate for the majority of the season.
Yeah, the question is durability, not talent. Like I think he's phenomenal, bro. Like,
on the other hand,
I don't know, phenomenal, but he's very good when he plays, man. Like
he was phenomenal when he was healthy this season, for the most part. He had a bad game against the 49ers. I thought we were primarily outcoached versus the Chargers, but he was not. He's not the MVP this year, even when healthy. But that's okay. No one expected him to be. He clearly showed flashes of what we were all hoping for. Durability is a big concern. It's interesting, though, however, because I understand concussions are compounding, and it's a reasonable concern, and a very real one. His long-term health as a person and a son, father, husband is more important than the game of football, without a doubt. But it's weird because his injuries, he's had a lot of injuries that were not related. When he came out of the draft, we weren't concerned that he was injury prone. We were concerned that he would not recover from a devastating hip injury, which it seems like he has. Now, he's had injuries a lot, going back to high school. And the hip injury wasn't his only injury in college either. But it's been a little bit of everything. It hasn't been like Devontae Parker had a shit hamstring every year. Tua is different. He's had rib injuries. He's had hand and finger injuries. He's had head injuries. He's had hip injuries and ankle injuries. It's not the same thing. So even with the concussions, doctors said that he is not particularly more prone than the average human being to concussions. So it's you want to believe that, well, this has been some shit luck, but it's probably not recurring. I want to believe that. I kind of do believe that. But what the fuck do I know? I don't think Tua is going to retire. I don't think the Dolphins are going to move on. They may look for a serious backup, an expensive backup. But I think Tua is the starter week 1, unless unless something weird happens. And we'll see. I think if next year he, for yet another reason, can't start a significant number of games, I think you have to, you have to look into other options. But I think as of right now, especially with the season he had, Tua is our guy. He should be the guy. And if these are just, he's a small guy that got hurt a lot, and you get a little bit luckier there. I think he's, perennial pro bowler, and we've only seen the beginning.
Beautifully fucking said, Trevor. And I wish I had a standing ovation track. Unfortunately, I do not have that technology.
I can only assume the people are watching have gotten out of their seats and are, just typing W in the chat.
W. The little clapping emojis are just going off. Don't worry.
I can't see it, but I imagine it's happening.
Hey, man. It's beautifully said, man. Because I don't think the question with Tua at this point, you can say it's talent. You have to say it is durability. And
anyone who says it's talent is just a hater or wrong at this point. I mean, the narrative that he can't throw beyond 10 yards, that whatever it was, he proved all of them wrong. That, I think if you have any other concern about him besides his durability, I think you're just dumb or not paying attention.
They believe. They agree.
I agree with what Matt just said. Learn how to freaking throw the ball away, or, tuck your chin when, well, actually.
Supposedly they're going to teach him how to fall.
There's all different ways to move your head, whether you're making a tackle or getting tackled. Learn how to do that, Tua.
Supposedly they're going to teach him how to fall. Greer did say, I would say with Tua, he is our starting quarterback. I mean, I don't know how we could say it any more clearly. Then he goes on to break it all down, with what we've been through the season with Mike, Tua, Darrell Bevel, Chandler Henley, coaching staff. They've all worked hard. They want to keep everyone together, it seems like. They want to continue this continuity because, like we talked about, man, there's been a lot of promising signs. And, I want to bring – if we're going to keep Tua, I want to bring in a very good backup. We're going to have to pay someone. Clearly, Teddy wasn't the answer. I like what I saw from Skylar Thompson. But to trust him for multiple games or to take away years of development that he should rightfully have, because the entire thing when he was drafted was, hey, this is a guy who deserves to develop. He deserves to be on the bench. And he's shown he should have a spot in the NFL. He's earned that time he needs. Okay,
that's a good point.
Let's bring in a good,
does Skylar want to be a third string quarterback? Skylar deserves to be probably, at least competing for a backup spot, QB2 somewhere. It's a good question for both you and, anyone who is watching. Has
Do you
Skylar
think
earned the right to be QB2?
that's actually a great question. I would say if it came to the point where there'd be friction in the locker room or where like it's only viable to keep two QBs, I would be okay keeping Tua and Skylar.
I think from a price perspective, they may go that route, over Teddy Bridgewater, for example, because he's obviously significantly cheaper than any veteran that you could sign. Do I trust him? Because, again, you need a reliable backup while the question is still out on Tua's durability. Do I trust him to be that guy yet? He played his best game in his last game. But at the same time, I know there were drops, a lot of them, but he was still like, 18 for 52? So if every drop was caught for 45, okay. And for every drop that was caught, he's still at or below 50%. So, it's hard to say. And it's a good point. Does Skylar want to be a QB3? He was drafted. He played a playoff game and almost won it. He may want to be a QB2 and really try to take off. But, it's not like he has much of a choice, unfortunately, on his rookie contract. So unless we cut him, he kind of, will play what McDaniel and Greer say. But he was a great teammate too. He always talked about, serving his role and kicking ass. I love the story with him and his dad. So
absolute trooper making that drive.
I'm rooting for Skylar Thompson. It'll be interesting to see what they do there.
It'll be definitely interesting, man. If we do go for another backup, like I agree, like maybe getting I want someone obviously, a veteran of 5+ years. It probably means that either a guy going for his second contract or his third contract. But would you rather see like a younger guy, like a Gardner Minshew, like a 26-year-old, kind of backup QB, 26, 28-year-old, or would you rather go for a kind of Fitzpatrick-esque backup, like someone who's on the older end of the spectrum? Like,
yeah.
Which backup?
Again, I do think it's going to come down to a lot of, what they do when they pay their guys.
Price-wise, yeah, I guess.
Do they pay Wilkins? Do they keep Byron Jones? And who they sign? Because I'm almost tempted to say, like, hey, if Garoppolo would come be a backup here, that would be awesome. That would be sick. But that's hard to do. I don't know if Derek Carr or Jimmy Garoppolo are going to want to back anyone up. Garoppolo was probably going to be a backup, but, they didn't. He was, Trey Lance got hurt. So I'd be tempted to pay a guy that I'd be confident in starting, but I was confident in starting Teddy Bridgewater in case we needed him too. So I'm kind of tempted at this point. Get your cheaper guy, get a guy that is healthy. You don't buy an insurance policy that needs an insurance policy. So if you can get a guy like that, or you trust Skylar Thompson, I almost kind of like a veteran. Funny enough, kind of like Mike Glennon, who may not even be much better than Skylar, but is a cheap veteran who, whether he's the QB2 or the QB3, if he's in there, he's not going to win you the game, but he probably won't throw it away.
Oh, I'm down for that. I'm down to keep it, especially if we can rock with him on the practice squad or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be beautiful. Like, that's a situation where we have 3 QBs, where we're rocking them in camp, and we'll be able to figure it out. Let them push each other a little bit. Like, I don't have any worry that if Tua needs to get pushed by Skylar, let them have a little bit of camp, a little push for everyone. Healthy competition is always good. And I think the cream will rise. And I think that will be Tua, obviously. And we will continue to see better things in the future, but we'll also have a nice, stable backup. And I love what you say, Trevor. You should not get an insurance policy that needs an insurance policy. If we're going for backups, I think Skylar's injuries this season have been a little bit freaky, so I'm not concerned about him. But if we're bringing anyone from the outside,
knocked out.
I don't want.
Got banged up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Skylar had like he came back like the week afterwards too.
Dude,
for stuff.
Can you think for a second that obviously Tua and Teddy got hurt. We saw a couple times Skylar slow to get up because he was knocked on his ass. Cedric Wilson was our emergency quarterback who was also hurt. We were almost down to QB5, dude.
I heard Dan Marino was starting to take off the suit and tie. He was like, "It's time, baby."
We can only.
He was like, "We ride."
He's honestly probably better than many guys right now.
Do you think he's actually like? Do you think there would be any part of Dan Marino's mind who would like be like, oh no, I guess I have to play quarterback? Like he just trots on the field.
I think if Dan Marino were untouchable, then he could probably still throw the ball and make plays with his arm. I think if he got hit by even a cornerback, he would get fucked up, dude. I mean, these athletes are so much better than they used to be. So even like a 200-pound, 190-pound cornerback running full speed into 60-year-old Dan Marino, that's tough.
Dude, I think you'd get jumped though if you did that to a 60-year-old man. You just ran full speed at him.
Could you imagine? Like, let's just take the Dolphins, dude. Jalen Phillips, does this beautiful spin move, arm, whatever, and gets around and just like rams into Dan Marino's ribs.
No, you gotta hug him. You can't have some class, man.
Put some respect on the name. That's what the refs do for Tom Brady.
That's what I'm saying. They're like, whoa, calm down. You saw when Josh Allen gets up and he's like, boo boo. He like points to his arm and the ref's like, oh, you're right. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, Josh Allen asks for flags and gets them, but
absolutely wild.
Buffalo, man.
But I agree, man.
I do have a question for you. Especially, we talked about the offense, we talked about the defense. If this were, we go through the whole offseason, we do our free agency, we do the draft, and we're a day or two or a week even before week 1 of 2023. What are you thinking? What are you saying? Are you confident? Are you nervous? What are we looking at, 6 months from today?
6 months from today, you paint this picture, we're right there. The season's about to start. I'm hoping we get another home opener. That'd be a beautiful.
Always like
always like a home opener, man. I would hope that over the offseason, we've shored up the offensive line, maybe brought in some nice running back pieces, and we're there. We're confident that the Miami Dolphins, and I'll flash real quick. We won't talk about it because I know we're wrapping up on time, but I look at that schedule, man, and I'm excited for what the Miami Dolphins can potentially do, bro. Like, I'm excited that maybe we can make some real noise. We've got some good opponents. We're playing the AFC West, the NFC East.
Whew.
It'll be tough. Man. It'll be tough. There's some tough divisions out there.
Dude. Wow.
But it'll be some competitive football games, man. 9 home games.
We do have the 9 home games this year as opposed to the 8. That's good.
So just to flash that real quick.
Oof. I tell you, though, it looks like NFC East, AFC West, that's a tough combination, but it looks like the home, it looks like we got a nice advantage overall on the home games. Those away games are freaking tough, dude. There's not a bad team on there. I mean, we'll see what the Jets do. They could be a quarterback away. The Commanders could have a really good defense, so we'll see about them. The Patriots, hopefully they suck next year. Dude, the Patriots. Who's the worst team on this list right here? I mean, I got to think the bottom 3 are Pats, Jets, and Commanders, but none of them
Panthers,
suck.
Maybe?
But I'm talking on the away side. I think on the home
side. Oh, away side. Yeah, no. Patriots for sure got to be Patriots or the Commanders got to be the worst 2 teams there.
Yeah, I mean, on the home side, I think the Dolphins can and you hope to expect them to win every single home game. I think we're at the point where we may be favored in every home game. It's a long way away, but unless maybe Buffalo, we'll see what the Giants and Cowboys do in the playoffs too. But fully healthy, I'd put our money against anyone at home.
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo, Cowboys, and the Giants are the only playoff teams that we're playing at home, so we should be fine.
That away schedule, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 playoff teams right now, as well as the Patriots and Jets who were in it in the last week, as well as the Commanders who came alive. That's tough.
Jeez, that's a tough away schedule, but it should be fun, man. But I just wanted to flash it real quick because you posed that question, man. I do think that I'm going to be excited. I think there should be good football. It's a tough schedule on the away side, but we didn't rise to the challenge this moment, and in this year it was Niners, Chargers, Bills. That'll decide how crazy this team is going to be, and the Dolphins maybe didn't rise to that occasion. This is another tough schedule that we'll get that opportunity. I think we'll be able to know, oh, baby, this team is going to be legit and make some crazy noise. or if we're going to have to reevaluate and reassess. But I think we're going to make some noise. My way too early was 11-6, 12-5, man. That was my way too early already.
Way too early? Oh, man. Flash that up one more time.
I got you, bro. I got you. While I pull it up, do you have any final thoughts?
I would like to hear what everyone who's watching thinks about our home and away schedule. It's I like I said at the beginning, I would define this season as a success. No one expected us to win the Super Bowl this year, although maybe we did a little bit when we were 8-3, really making some noise. It certainly showed I think we showed that our window may be open. But at the same time, we made the playoffs in McDaniel's first year. I hope next year isn't freaking streaky, man. We've had 2 years in a row that have just been nothing but a total up and down roller coaster. The 2021, 1-7 to what was it, 9-8? 1-7 to 9-8, and then this year 1-3, lost 3, 1-5, lost 5. Let me get a little bit of. Don't do that to me, Dolphins. But let's see. Home we go 8.
Schedule makers also though, bro. I have some beef with the schedule makers, man. Like that was also the way the schedule was designed too. Like we got all of our hard games in December at the end.
Yeah, you saw from the very beginning. And the first half of the season, I expected us to beat the Jets and the Vikings and maybe lose to the Ravens and Bills. That was all wrong. But everyone saw that, the West Coast trip and up to Buffalo, 3-way game. That was tough. I don't think we're going to go 8-0 at home next year. 9-0. That's just unlikely, no matter how good you are, to win every game at home. Though I expect us on paper to be better than all of these teams. So let's take it like this. AFC East, I would like to go 5-1 in the AFC East next year. I want to sweep the Jets and the Pats and split with the Bills. I think that's possible. But we're the Dolphins. Let's go 4-2 and let's start at 4-2 in the AFC East. So that takes care of those games. At home, I expect to beat the Broncos, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Panthers. So that puts us at 8-2. And then for the games that I didn't mention, Giants, Cowboys, and Titans, let's say you lose 2 of them, right? They're hard-fought battles. You pull ahead, and you let one slip. So you go 1-2 there. So that goes from 8-2 to 9-4. And then you have 5 games remaining. No. 8-2 to 9-4. Now you have 4 games remaining. But I must have done the math wrong because there are 5 left. So I think you go 4-2 in the division. Broncos are a win. Jets are a win. Raiders are a win. Panthers are a win. That's 8-2. Titans are a win. That's 9-2. And then Cowboys and Giants, you lose. That's 9-4. Then you got 4 more games. What am I doing wrong here?
You might be counting the Jets too many times.
I counted the Jets too many times. My bad, guys. I'm just math. I like football. So you're 8-2. You're 8-4, not 9-4. That's disappointing. But you're 8-4. And then you've got a tough ass road schedule with the Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles, Ravens, and Chargers. If you lose all of those games, you're 8-9. So you got to win at least 2 of those games to go 10-7. So you have to win at least 2 of those 5 non-divisional road games. And then I think you make the playoffs. I think you can beat the Chargers and Commanders and Ravens on the road. We'll see how the Eagles keep this up. We'll see how they are next year. Man, it's a tough schedule. I think my way too early. I think if I'm being optimistic, I'd say 11-5. I'd say the floor has got to be 10-7 next year. The floor has got to be 10-7 next year.
Floor's got to be double digits, man. 10-7. That's what I'm saying. I think 11-6, 12-5. And we should be.
You have to grow. You can't go 9-8 next year.
No, not at all, bro. You cannot go 9-8. And some people might even argue you can't even go 10-7. I think that is the floor. It'd be a floor that would need like playoff appearances and like maybe a win, to be easier to swallow.
Yeah,
but 11-6, 12-5.
As Dolphins fans who have gone through all we've gone through over the years, and, to have the roller coaster of a season that was, I think it's fair to expect a playoff win next year. Because if not now, when? When are you going to fucking, you
Exactly.
can,
When?
because I don't want to be the seventh seed again, man. If the Bills are going to win the division next year, which they'll probably open up the season favored to do so, if we don't win the division and host a playoff game, you would hope you're playing at least the third and fourth seed, so you got a better shot to win. You got to win a playoff game, man. If not now, when?
Not now, when, bro. You need to. And it'll end up all the jokes. It'll silence all the haters, the doubters, the critics. One playoff win minimum. Minimum, Trevor.
Minimum.
Let's get to the divisional round. But and I'll take that. 11-6, 12-5, 11-6, 12-5. I think we're pretty much on the same page for most of our Dolphins thoughts, Trevor.
Here's the thing, though. It is, like you said, way too early. These teams are not going to be the same. The Dolphins ended up this season with the third toughest schedule by win percentage of opponents. You finished 4-5 against teams with a winning record. Injuries played a part in some, but not all of those losses. But yeah, I mean, who knows? The Eagles may suck next year. The Jets may suck next year. But also, the Panthers may be dominant next year. Who knows? A lot's going to be different. It's not going to – our projections will change as we go. But I think, as we got a comment or two, and we agree, one playoff win minimum. We deserve it. The team should earn it. And it would be – I think year one is year one, but year two with McDaniel and Tyreek, win a damn playoff game.
Yeah, going to the dance is cool, but it's time to shake our asses and win a freaking playoff game, man.
Shake your ass, Miami.
Shake your ass, Miami. Trevor, this has been a beautiful time. Trevor and I can go for hours, bro. But I think I've already kept you twice as long as the time I asked of you here, bro. But it's been an awesome conversation, Mr. Trevor.
It's so easy. It makes time fly.
It makes time fly, bro. And I love talking to you, bro. You know your birthday's coming up. When you come to Miami, we'll be vibing. We'll be catching it soon, brother, man.
Man, I hope to see you actually in person soon, but it's always good to hop on your show. I certainly appreciate you.
Hey, Mr. Trevor, I appreciate you for giving your time, for coming on Nando Talk. And I know this is the first time we've had a one-on-one, but it will certainly not be the last time I have you on the show in general. I'm sure you and me and Spencer will be chatting. You and me will be chatting, whatever it may be. You are always welcome on Nando Talk, man. Thank you for everybody for tuning in and for listening to me, listening to Trevor, man. It was something special to me, bro. Thank you, bro. You got any final thoughts or?
Well, first, let me make sure I'm going to hold the salute position so my freezing camera catches it to send it back to you. There it is. Oh, no. No final thoughts after that, man. The Dolphins are love them or hate them. They're our team forever. So, we can put the hat on with pride. We're all Dolphins fans, despite the pain. We will be back to prominence sooner rather than later. I certainly hope so. But Fernando, thank you for bringing me on Nando Talk. It's the best show on Twitter and YouTube right now. It makes you proud to be a Dolphins fan. So I'm glad to be on here. And thank you, everyone, for watching. My Twitter handle where I talk about the Dolphins and make stupid jokes all the time is Trevor_W42. I retweet a lot on Nando Talk, so I hope to be on here again soon, and I thank you again.
Dude, I'm putting your Twitter handle right now in the chat. Anyone wants to ever check it out. This is the man, the myth, the legend. Great Dolphins talks, great sports mind, football savant, Mr. Trevor Wilpon. Oops. But I guess that's in your Twitter. Whatever. Doxed Mr. Trevor. But we will ride.
I appreciate you, Fernando. Thank you very much, and I will catch you soon.
I'll catch you soon, my brother. I will see you, baby. Thank you all for tuning in. And bada bing, bada bang. We're about to play the closing outro. If you like to see more, subscribe for positive vibes. That's my Twitter handle. That's my YouTube. Always forget to say it in the beginning when people are actually watching, but it's all good. If you guys somehow got to the end of the video and saw this, definitely follow along. It would be greatly appreciated, and I will catch you next time. Thank you all for tuning in. Bada bing, bada bang. As always, hold on. A fins up, a chins up. Thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you tomorrow for Tin Foil Hat Thursdays.
Got me there.
Got me there, baby. Catch you all.
Go Dolphins.